My name is Ani Akpe, and I am the founder of African Women in Technology. We just want to thank you all for joining us today. And we look forward to these sessions. We'll be adding a lot more sessions where you're able to participate, where you're able to ask questions, and in some instances where we may even ask you to, come up and speak. But for now, today's session is going to be mastering your career, mastering your tech success, and making sure you're able to stand out. So I'm very, very excited because when we saw Jane and she agreed to be like our first speaker on the hub. So this is also a celebration of her being here for the first time and us hosting our first webinar. So Jane, girl, you're our first in everything.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm super excited that she's here. You could tell I'm a nerd, so that's what I do. I just giggle all the time. But also, I'm excited because I always love learning. Um, but Shannon and I will be here so you guys can message us if you need any questions. Jane, how you feeling? How you ready?
Yes, I am ready. I'm feeling great. It's always good to be speaking to a group of women.
Okay. Oh, don't forget to turn your camera on because I know I do that sometimes. I'll forget to turn my camera on.
Over to me, or you said over to who? Over to me, Jane?
Yeah, if you could turn
Oh,
your camera on.
that's okay.
Okay, so sorry about the delay in getting you in. Um, but in the meantime, where is everyone logging in from? If you could tell us where you're from, so we can see who you are, what do you do, what do you hope to learn. Don't forget, Shannon's going to be watching you guys because we've got door prizes and we like participation. So, if you want to get Shannon, you got to talk about what you're going to be giving away as a door prize before we
Sure.
let Jane take over. Jane, hold on for just for like one more, a few things. Shannon,
Mhm.
you there?
Yes, Annie.
Okay, so can you talk about the prizes we're giving out?
Yeah, we'll be picking the most active participants in the webinar and we'll be rewarding them. The prize will be discussed after we've seen who's the most active.
Okay, so I'm just letting y'all know we don't give away bad stuff. We do pretty amazing when it comes to making sure you guys not only do you get a chance to learn, but we also make sure that you get a chance to enjoy community activities because we're all about you getting out and having you be active. So we will always do things like this where we're encouraging you, and we also want you to learn. That's the most important thing. And I like to be rewarded when I'm learning. I like somebody to give me a little chocolate bar and say, hey, you're doing an amazing job. But since I can't give you an amazing chocolate bar, we're going to do even better. We're going to give out amazing events or even, paraphernalia. It has amazing gear. I don't know if you've checked it out, but we do have amazing gear. Anyway, without delay, we are going to turn over the time to Jane so she could have an opportunity to teach us all a thing or two. So, Jane, we turn over the time to you and we thank you once again for joining us. And don't forget, next week, she's here this week and also on the 24th, correct?
Sure,
Yes.
sure. Yes, yes, yes. So
Okay.
thank you very much, Annie, Shannon, and everyone else that has tuned in today. I hope you can hear me very well. So I was given a heavy topic that has four other topics in it. We have interview success, we have climbing to the next level. What else did I see? Four or five topics. So 1 hour is very brief. So we are going to talk about two or more topics, and then next week we can handle the other two. And I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Coach Jane Mutisya, and I am the next level coach. I coach for the next level, for growth, because everybody has that next level. And therefore, our session today is going to start with that. My background is in HR, um, and I would like this to be a very conversational kind of thing. So I hope that that team that I can see logged in now, so able to participate and respond and do many other things that I would request that you do today. So when you talk about next level, and I'll use the example of countries. When a country is planning, like for Kenya, you hear about the Vision 2030. I think even for the UN, we have the sustainable goals, the SDGs. which we are talking about, 2060. You plan like a visionary. You're able to see ahead. You're able to plan for the next 30 years, not just the next 1 year or the next 5 years or the next 2 years. You plan like a visionary. And therefore, the first thing, if you're going to be someone who is taking care of your current, as you see your next level, then you think like a visionary. And therefore, one of the most important skills that you must have is being able to be a visionary. And therefore, I want us to just talk about visioning. What do you mean when you say that you are a visionary and that you can go to your next level as a visionary? So I really hope you can hear me. I hope that the rest of you can also come on camera, but hey, not a problem. So visionary, I'm going to engage you in this particular one. So tell me, how many of us here have thought about our careers? I will not stretch to that, but you can actually stretch to that. How many of us have thought about our careers for the next 30 years? And I know we're in tech, a lot is going to change, but we have to see that as we come to 15, as we come to 10, as we come to 5. Have you thought about what you'll be doing in terms of your professional careers 30 years from today? And me, I could engage you on that particular one. And I'm hoping all of us are just listening and also engaging and writing down if you have a plan for that years from today. A lot will have happened. A lot will have changed. Will you be in that change, driving that change, swimming over across it and all that, or will you be the type that is being swept over? You know, we all know how many jobs have are now out, not in our space anymore, or jobs that have come, or the others that are coming, even for next year. And will the job even be there, even next year, as we talk about it, the kind of things that you do. So being able to visualize and being able to see that far is one of the things that I would like us to take. And if I'm asking us to take 2 minutes and just write about your career in the next 5 years. So we came from 30, and 30, I don't know what our age brackets in this group. But assuming you're 24 today, 30 years from now, you'll just be 54. See, it is not a big thing. So some of you will be directors, some of you will be running your own enterprises, some of you will be maybe still assistants or officers, depending with how you actually pursue that particular next level, that particular vision. So I am giving us a minute or two. Just take a minute or two. It is now 2010. So by 2011, end of 2011, in the minutes, Kenya time, think about your career for the next 5 years. And don't say things will change. Things will change, but there's some of them will still remain in your planning, in your space, in your power. So we are just focusing on the next level, and I talked about that being able to be visionary, because then the next level is about that visionary, being able to know where you want to go. And now I'm going to talk about just about some powerful habits, what we call the powerful career habits, things that you need to do today if you have to go to the next level, if you have to excel in your current role and remain focused on that particular growth. And one of those, and one of the things that is underrated is communication. Some people over communicate and others under communicate. There's a stereotype that most people in tech would be very quiet and ABCD under that. I'm not talking about being quiet or talkative. I'm talking about communication for business. So when there's under communication is when people still have to keep coming to you to ask you questions that you could probably have covered in your email, you could have covered in your update, you could have covered in a report. That is under communication. So communication is what we call the verbal communication as a key skill that you must have. There's communication on emails, on reports, and all those things that we communicate at work. And communication is really huge. I'm just going to mention because we have 1 hour. But I want to address these two, under communication and over communication. And I would like you to think through and see when was this one time that you did an under communication or an over communication, or you did not communicate at all. So your boss gives you an assignment to do. Then you go sit and do this assignment. It is a 2-week assignment. And for the 2 weeks, you do not update your boss on what exactly is happening. Your boss is just hoping that I just hope Jane is working on that particular report. That would mean that you are an under communicator. You send an email and 5 people ask you, when is this happening? What did you mean by this? And are we paying anything? Or are we sending, who are we sending in this? Meaning, at the point of you sending that particular email, you did not sit to think and say, who do I want to communicate with this email and about what? And what are the digits that must be in this particular email? It sounds obvious, but it is very common. We keep seeing emails that are under communicating, either because the person never thought about what exactly they're communicating and what they want to say. We assume people know our background. We assume the people know the context. So you have to always think about, have I given enough context? Are people able to understand? If I'm calling for an action, are people able to take the action that I want them to take? Or do they have to call me and ask, in that communication, of course, I know you understand about those basics of who do you put on CC, who do you put under this two, and who do you BCC, and why are we doing a BCC? So all those are forms of communication. But most important is when you're running your project as an IT person, and maybe that project is going to take a while. Do people have to keep coming to you? So every time you have those assignments, as a good communicator, it's very important that you develop a communication plan. It looks like something small, but it's always important that you say, maybe I'm just coming from this particular meeting with my boss. This is what we have agreed, and I've thought through, and this is the plan of execution. Do that on email. Tell them that following our meeting, just to recap, blah blah blah. The following is the plan of how I plan to execute. I'll give you an update on Friday. So then in your mind, you know that on Friday you'll be sending an update of where we are with this particular project. If it's your customers, are they calling to follow up on things that you should have communicated even before they called? So be that person that is able to share information, and people know if it is Jane is doing this, then we are sure that then if there's transparency and there's communication. Then we have people who over communicate, or people who dominate even a space. You know, you want to ask everything, you want to ask all the details, you want to ask even what people assume it's obvious. So that balance is very important. That balance is very important. And especially because most IT jobs are for serving other people. You could be developing an app for someone, you could be developing a website for someone else, you could be supporting people in the office, you could be developing, I don't know what, you're dealing with all those other stakeholders. People keep saying that you guys want to be back office, IT person back office, and everything, but you can never work alone, and neither are you serving. You are serving customers that expect to hear from you in a timely manner and in a way that the information is actually adequate. So very important. When you don't understand something, being able to inquire and inquire from the right person, all that is part of communication. So communication is huge. We even talk about the dark side of communication, where instead of going to the source of information, you use other avenues, or you communicate in a way that is very satirical and people don't understand what you're saying, or you communicate a lot of jargon, and therefore the guys that you're supposed to be communicating to do not fully understand what you're trying to say or what you want to communicate. So this is one of the things that I would really ask us that we take note of. And again, in a second or two, just ask yourself: Are you another communicator by default, or are you just a good communicator, or are you an over communicator? Remember again, even how we do emails. Some people do very long emails, such that it should have been a document that is attached. A very long email that should not be an email. All that is just issues of communication. I'll go to the next scale. And the next thing that I'm calling a powerful career habit is be early, be accurate. Be early, be accurate. These are some of the things that they look minor, but they make a huge difference. People knowing that if they have a meeting with you, you're going to arrive on time and you're going to be accurate. If it's a report, it is going to be on time or early, and it is going to be accurate. Let me focus on being accurate. Both of them are very important. Let me start with being accurate. How many times do you do reports or even assignments? You're given a project to run or something to do, and then people have to bring it back to you because you never took your time to review it. So very important that you always make yourself review the work that you're doing. Pick all the things that you should be able to pick on your own. Use other instruments, technology of whatever that it is, to have people pick the things that you should pick before that. They be known for accuracy. Love accuracy. Be uncomfortable with people picking things that you should have picked. And I'm watching you become a perfectionist. But I've also seen whereby people do assignments and they do not take the time to even just do the initial review, a checklist of what must go into this. And I like using an example of when you're preparing contracts in HR. A very basic assignment. You're just changing the name from Jane to Annie, changing the title, changing the money. But I've seen people giving people the wrong salary. I've seen people getting contracts with the wrong start date just because someone did not review. So very important that you purpose to just be known for your accuracy. Be known for your accuracy. But you can make a mistake, but because it can pass because you're human, but not because you did not check. Then in terms of being early, early is in everything. Are you meeting your deadlines? Are you able to plan your things and plan how you're going to do the week? Plan how you're going to run the day. See when you're being distracted and nothing is working. Because when all that happens, then this becomes an issue. Early in terms of all our deliverables, in terms of going for meetings, in terms of going for everything. And even when you're early for meetings, when they say the early bird catches the worm, it is so true. So be early for everything if you can. If like make it just a compulsory thing for you to do. Be early for everything. It helps you with so many things. Even just a team meeting, be early. Because when you're early, you're even able to network with people away from what you're going to be discussing. You're able to form those networks and people get to know you, because when you're early even for a meeting, you discuss other things. If you're early the report, if your boss needs to correct you, then again, if you want to communicate and people have to get information from you and communicating early, they appreciate than being a last minute, because last minute always causes confusion and many other things. So among the most powerful habits that I would tell anyone that is listening to me is be early and be accurate in the things that you do. Sorry, and it will go to the next. Some reason we are not moving here. Just a minute. There we go. And then the other key skill that you have to know is how to win your fights in the office. We are human beings. We are always fighting. We are always having issues with people. Today I'm having issues with Dani. Tomorrow I'm having issues with Mwende. And the other day I'm having issues with ABCD. As a professional who understands that at any one time you're working with people and there are going to be fights, especially fights on email, because I also know they're very common in the office. And they come and affect our reputation, they affect our careers, they affect our work, either knowing or not knowing. And I'm tying that to EQ, your emotional intelligence. So you could be very intelligent, you could have gotten straight A's in school, you could have gotten, the best grades ever. That means your IQ is very okay, but you must always complement that IQ with EQ. How you manage your emotions. And let me talk about the fights in the office. One of the best things to win fights, and especially on emails, is to just walk away. Do you have the capacity to actually walk away and say, you know what, I feel like this particular meeting is getting heated. Let's reconvene tomorrow morning. I think our conversation is going south. Why don't we talk tomorrow? Or I feel like I can't engage now. I'm getting upset. Can we revisit this later? Even in an email, all those times that people are responding to emails and responding, and someone sends this and you send the other one back, like that, like that, like that. At the end of the day, there are things when you see that email 5 year or a year later, next day you open your emails and you're like, my good lord, this was me and so and so. What were you fighting about? And sometimes the things you said, or they say to you, they can be taken back. And they make you feel worse than you actually feel because of whatever that was making you fight. So very, 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 very important that you understand it is not in your space to fight everybody in the office. And I'm not saying you look for peace. I'm just saying you become something that we call conflict competence. Understand your emotions, understand where you stand, and be able to be someone who is conflict competent. You're able to sort your conflict without having to cut off everybody. Because if every time you have a conflict, you're cutting off people, you're not talking to Jane, you're not talking to Annie, you're not talking to so and so, how many people are you going to stop talking to because you cannot resolve your conflict? Don't be an avoider. Don't be the fire in the anytime that people are having that particular conflict because people get to know about it. But be the person that is able to understand, read the room, and know how to go for a win-win. Know how to pursue the solution and not just making the problem become bigger and bigger and bigger. And the other thing that I would like to talk about being a powerful skill is about giving and receiving feedback. Are you able to receive feedback? Are you able to give feedback? Is a key skill that most of us require or sometimes struggle with. In terms of giving feedback, it could be you giving feedback to the team people that you work with or giving feedback to your boss, which can be very tricky. You have to really think about it and understand about the techniques for giving that particular feedback. So then it doesn't look like it's lack of objectivity or like you're being maybe insubordinate and all that. But for you as a person, receiving feedback has to be one of the things that you have to do, you even pursue it. Why? Because we even see businesses, whether they take the advice or not, but we see them asking for customers. We love your feedback. We see them telling customers that. Give us feedback because we need to hear that feedback so that we know how to improve. It is the same thing for you. If you're not given feedback by the people that work with you, by the people that care for you, then you may never grow. You'll continue having what we call the brown spots, not the brown, but the blind spots. You know, you're weak in something, nobody has ever told you, they speak about it maybe behind doors, and when they tell you, you become defensive. So very important to understand that when you're given feedback, if your boss says your reports are too shallow, it is in your best interest that you understand what does your boss mean by shallow? What would they like to see in future? So ask, what would you like to see in my future report? What can I include to make it a bit more deep at ABCD? If they say, I don't like how you spoke or did ABCD in that particular meeting, ask for further information, be able to pursue, to be able to understand fully what exactly do they expect from you and what do they need from you. So being hungry for that feedback, and even when you do not agree with it, because I've seen also when you go for appraisals and maybe you're being given feedback that is not very very good, people already come with they're coming to fight. They are not coming to receive that particular feedback. And I'm not saying you become a doormat, but it's very important that you take that feedback, even when you don't do not agree with it. Go home, relax, 2 days, think through, come and ask. I really want to take in the feedback that you gave me, but I'm struggling. Why don't you give me an example? Then I'll know how to go about this. And just last week, someone was giving me an example of their boss told them that I think going forward you should consult more. And she didn't know what the boss meant. And she called me and I told me, Jane, my boss said I should consult more and I don't know what she means. I think I've been consulting enough. And I told her, you know what, go back Understand what exactly does your boss mean, but I think we should consult more. Are there some people that are feeling left out in the projects that you're implementing? Or what exactly does your boss mean by, because that could be, maybe she's given an assignment and she just runs with it because she wants to get it done. And therefore she's expecting a well done because it was delivered on time and maybe on code and all that and on budget. But then people are feeling left out. And if you don't seek that particular feedback, you may never know what you need to improve or do differently. So very important that we all know we have this. I hope we have met this Johari's window somewhere, and to know that we have what we call the blind spot, the red one, where other people know about us, but then we do not know. Others know, but we don't. So it starts with here: known to others, then not known to others, and unknown to others, the open area you know, and others know about you. So there is this thing that you know about yourself, and we know it. Then there is where others know, but you don't know. So if you don't go for that particular feedback, it can look sound very subjective, but if you don't go for it, then it becomes a weakness that will keep hurting other people continuously. So our intention is to keep reducing this blind spot at any one time. And I keep saying that there's someone who thinks that you're very bad. There's someone who has very negative feedback about you, and when they tell you, you get shocked. One day I should give an example of a time that someone told me, "June, you're very dismissive," and I'm like, "Me dismissive? How?" So when I asked the example, because I really wanted, I was like, that cannot be me. Nobody has ever described me that, and I don't think I am. When they gave me the example, I realized it is true. According to them, I was dismissive. She was my assistant. I would give her work. If she doesn't do it in 2 days, like we have agreed, I would do it. When she comes to me, I'll be like, you know what? I think I don't know. I will not even be giving you assignment because I give you and then you do ABCD and all that. Sometimes if they have errors, I would actually sit and just do instead of giving it back to her. And in her mind, that was dismissal. I never gave her the feedback the way she wanted, and therefore she felt it was something that was not right. So you reduce that blind spot by getting feedback from other people. So very, very, very important that we even seek that feedback and choose to be given by other people why on how they feel. So feedback can be a powerful tool for growth or a source of conflict depending on the mindset. So your mindset is very, 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 very important. So you're saying why mindsets matter in feedback. So there are people who will not promote you because they will think that you can't work with someone, but they have never given you that particular feedback. So your boss, your workmate, your friends, if you have a mentor, they are all those things. Feedback can be on technical skills, it can be on behavioral, it can be on anything. It can be also on how you show up. So very, 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 very important that we open our minds to being given feedback that is not even positive, and we never have to respond or react immediately. Our work is to ask more questions so that we're able to understand that particular feedback, even as we consume it. And I'll just talk about this and then we'll go to something different in terms of the two mindsets for feedback. So they say we have what we call the fixed mindset and what we call the growth mindset. And in the fixed mindset, you believe you know. You have always been a choppy. You are good as far as you're concerned. Jane does not know, blah, 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 blah. You believe you're good. And therefore, anybody that has a different opinion from yours, you fight them. Even in a meeting, when someone is speaking, you almost have another answer, even before they finish talking. Because then you believe, you're focusing on proving yourself. You can see here. So you avoid challenges. Any meeting that is going to be a different opinion from yours, you'd rather not go because you're not patient enough to actually just be seated. And there are other people voicing things that are very different from what you thought was the best way forward. You refuse to receive feedback or even criticism. When people give you feedback that is negative, you assume they're attacking you. And therefore it becomes very difficult for even you to be told, and to be given that particular aspect. At any one time, you want to prove that you're right. It is always about who is right instead of what is the best way forward. You feel threatened by other people's success. So you're not able to give feedback or to give other people feedback because at any one time, it's like you're competing. You believe you're the best and you're the best, 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 best for everything. And therefore, you can't accept mistakes or failure. You shy away from unfamiliar things because then you don't know how you're going to show up. You believe that talent is static. If someone in your team doesn't know A, instead of you teaching them how to do it, you believe that they cannot be taught. So you'll keep saying, Jane can't do that. Jane cannot do that particular one. When you have a growth mindset, you'll give Jane that chance. I think I want to imagine if she's given an exposure, if she's given this to do 2 3 times, and someone works with her, she's going to learn that particular aspect. But if you have a fixed mindset, you write people off, even in your team. And the team can be anyone. You don't have to be a manager or a leader for you to have a team. We always work in teams, we always work with other people. And there are times that we actually write people off because we assume they are not teachable, they can't learn. To us, we have a mindset about them. If you have a growth mindset, on the other hand, you're someone who is able to embrace constructive feedback. You focus on the process and not the result. You learn and grow from failures. You're always going to step out of your comfort zone. So let me encourage all of us to move to a growth mindset. You can also check and see when was the last time that you actually found yourself in one of those mindsets. You believe that abilities and intelligence can develop through effort, learning, and persistence. That is a growth mindset. So even the things that you don't know, even the things that you do not know, you believe you can learn and therefore you pursue to learn them. But then there are people, the things that they don't like or know, they actually can never touch them. I don't know this one. Why don't you give Jane? She's the one who knows how to do this particular one, things like that. I don't want us to go beyond that in this particular slide. I think that's enough. That's enough in terms of that, but you can reflect a bit. Let me see. Yeah, I'm going to share this. So an example of receiving with a growth mindset, when receiving critical feedback, instead of thinking I'm not good at this, reframe it as I haven't mastered this yet. What can I do to improve it? So the whole mindset changes how you see the different things that you see and the different things that come to your space. Um, and I would like you to just take a minute and think about things. Think of a recent feedback you received. Reflect and write down one action you could take to receive feedback with a growth mindset in the future. Just 1 minute. Think about it and write. So in 20 into by 1 minute from now, in Kenya it is 234. Okay, super. I'll come back a bit to our next level. And in our next level, coaching, I like asking this particular question. Yeah, Neha will come back to that question on the mindset. Just let me talk about just a bit before we leave the next level, focusing on our next level and the skills that we need. And I'm going to ask you a question. If today your boss was to go and live for 3 months, maybe they are going to maybe they are going to study, or maybe they are going for whatever reason, would they choose you? Would they choose you as the person that they would leave acting in that particular department? Neha, I come to you in a minute. Would they choose you as the next person that they would actually leave acting? You can lift your hand, you can type. If today your boss or your most superior colleague was to step aside for whatever reason, would they choose you to be able to step in when they're gone? Or will they have to come for a consultant or hire from outside? Are you ready for that next level? And I was asking about the next level. So for us to get for that next level, and for us to also think about our career success and ABCD, it's very important that you do not just focus on performing at your current level. You have to always think about that at the next level and think about what are the things that would make my boss or the people that make decisions where I am to be able to say that we are going to give this to Shannon, we are going to give this to Annie, we are going to give this to Neha, we're going to give this to Mother. And part of that, the easiest part of it is the technical capacity. The technical capacity. Technically, how do you measure against the skills that are required for that other job? Not just the soft skills, but the technical skills. Remember, every job has the soft skills and the technical skills. Sometimes we have people who are very good technically, people who are very good in terms of their ICT, in terms of tech, in terms of ABCD. But when you come to the soft issues, being able to solve conflict, being able to just manage, I don't know what, those soft things, being able to communicate, then there's a problem. But you can always break that. You first look at the technical aspects of the job for the next level. How do you need to improve, and what must you do today for you to start gaining those particular skills, and for people knowing, because we see you for your current level. If you're an IT assistant, maybe supporting people with user support in the office, trust me, that is the lens that we know about you. If you have any other skills, we don't know. So it has to be you to think about yourself, and how do we get to see you in your new lens? How do you know that you actually have other skills that maybe you don't use in your day-to-day job? How do you bring that to the rest of us who are making decisions for you? When you go to that particular boardroom, even your boss doesn't know that you know those extra skills. So one of the things that I'm saying is you need first of all take a paper and a pen and analyze. If I have to be promoted, if I have to apply for jobs that are beyond the level that I'm currently doing, what skills do I need? And then like quoting, what got you here may not get you there. So take that book and write the skills of what you currently have and the skills required, the level required for the next level, and start preparing for that level. Because you don't want to be in a situation whereby you're actually supposed to be in that other level, but now you're not ready for it. So a chance has come, and I've seen people get very bitter. So career management and planning is very important. I've seen people get very bitter because of they're being left out for opportunities. and they feel they should not have gotten someone from outside. I've done this for the last 10 years. I've done this for the last ABCD 2 years, and nobody's promoting me. People are not promoting you because they see you in your current role. They don't see you in the next level. And therefore, you must have ways of increasing your visibility. And I call it the visibility currency. Being able to be seen by those that do not work with you every day. Remember, again, even those who work with you every day see you as you. If you're an IT assistant, that's how they see you. They don't see you beyond that role. And that's why most people get jobs outside the organizations. Because you can come from where you don't work and we give you a chance to sell what you're saying. But where you work, people see you for what you are, what they see you doing. And therefore, you have to be miles ahead to think about how then do I introduce the new me, the new skills that I have, and how I want them to perceive me as someone who is more skilled, someone who is already able to go to the level that I am. And therefore, you have to start volunteering for special assignments, for committees, for just special things that are away from what you do on a day-to-day basis. So when you go for those meetings and they're asking for volunteers for something that is different, even away from tech, because there are projects that will come to your organization that are away from tech, but then they give you exposure to other things in life. So very important that you always keep them, volunteering to even do other things. And they accuse us women of volunteering to welfare projects only. Going to see a baby in hospital, someone is sick for weddings. Away from that, strategic assignments that make you also meet other people that you would ordinarily not meet in your day-to-day work. Very, 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 very important. It's also important to just map your feasibility plan. Who needs to know you and for what? If only your boss is the only person that knows you, you're in trouble. Because if your boss doesn't like you, because it's not a matter they like you. If your boss doesn't like you, then you may never be promoted. If your boss quits, then you may never have anybody to speak for you. So very important, even when you're going for meetings, be able to take that particular agenda, look at it and understand what do I contribute in this agenda. It is your chance to be seen by other people in the office that are not necessarily in your department, but they can only see you intellectually. You don't want them to see you as the beautiful woman or the beautiful BCD, the tall dark girl. No. You want them to experience you intellectually, and therefore you prepare for those meetings and shine. If you're given a chance to present, you take it seriously. You prepare very well your slides, your whatnot, the confidence, and speak. And one of the other most important things that I didn't talk about, one of the career habits or skills that are very important, is being able to actually communicate and give presentations and even face a large crowd. Back office is sabotaging yourself. If at any one time you're behind the door, you're behind the desk, and you only speak if we force you to speak. And when you force you to speak, all you can say is everything has been said. Allow me not to repeat. If that is something that you can say, again, you're not doing anything for your feasibility and your feasibility currency. So very important that you map the people that you support and see how you want them to see you. And remember to even talk to your boss when you're doing your appraisals and say, you know what, I feel like I'm due for more assignments. I feel like I can do more. You can start delegating so that I'm able to now do things that are beyond. Sometimes if you do not trust people, don't give you. If you don't ask for more, people don't give you.
Hi, thank you, Annie, Shannon, Jane. You are Jane. Oh my God, you're so funny. I love the way you talk. You're very gentle in the way you're talking, and I love that. I think for me, I'm very kind of straight arrowed the way I talk. So forgive me, I'm not as gentle as you, Jane. But talking about mindset, and it's something I learned very late in life, just a couple of years ago, not even a year ago. And I love how you're saying that we need to have a growth mindset. And because we're in a room full of women, I think this is a safe space for us to talk about us as women. And one thing we've all grown up with is the barriers. Oh, as a woman, you can't do this. As a woman, you can't do that. You can't say this. You cannot do that. Don't take risks. Be safe. So we're kind of grown up in a mindset where we always make ourselves very small all the time in our personal life, in our professional life. And, when I look back, I just start crying at the old version of me. And I feel so bad for her because there were so many opportunities I missed because I kept saying, no, I'm not good enough. No, I can't do this. And I was always very scared to put myself out there. And I just started learning that, there are people who have less skill set than me who are making double or even triple the amount I'm making per month. And why? Because they just went out there they took risks, they didn't make themselves small, and they were just constantly learning. And here I am trying to perfect my skills, perfect everything, and say, I'm not ready for this. So I love what you're saying, Jane, and it's such a beautiful time that you're mentioning this. And there's so much we have to unlearn as women for us to progress both in our professional and our personal lives.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you so much, Neha, for your compliment also, and also for the things that you're saying. We'll hear from Mother, and then I'll come back and respond to something that you have said that I think is very beautiful. Mother, are you able to speak? Hello.
Oh yeah, Jane. I was answering the question whether if your boss left you, would you be able to take over?
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying sometimes it also depends on your boss.
Mm-hmm.
For example, from my previous job, there was no, let me say, that platform. But from my new boss, there's now that platform where you can express yourself, and he gives you that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So the other thing that I'd like to say, just picking up from Mother, is the effect of things that are within us, things that we can do as us, and things that are beyond us. So there are times that we have things that are beyond, that are within us, things that we can actually do. Because even with your boss right now, there are people that would never take. There are people that the opportunity is there, but they are not seeing it. True or true, Mother?
Yeah, it's very true.
Yes. So it's about you, not about your boss. Because again, your boss will always change. The next boss might be someone who never gives you an opportunity. But are you able to still pursue that, either with that particular boss or with other people? Because then, if they don't think you are ready for it, because it is up to you to get yourself ready. And being a career coach, I've seen people, and as a recruiter, I've seen people who, and I like giving this example of a lady who was a PA, an executive assistant, to the level that, in my opinion, I think she can actually be an executive director. But she did that. She's now 56 years old, and she has been an executive assistant for the longest, maybe all her life. She became a PA, was promoted to an executive assistant. She was supporting 6 directors. And last year, we're recruiting an executive assistant, and she applied for that role. You hear she's 56. And the saddest thing was she could do the job. But now that job has a younger people that are doing it very well with technology, with ease, they are fast. She has the knowledge, but she's not able to match how they're doing it and all that. And she's still jobless, and maybe this is her bad year of not being able to get a job. And she may not get a job in that particular line, because you can imagine in 4 years she'll be 60. There are some people who will continue when they are 60, they become hotcakes, because at any one time they were focusing on that next level and understanding. Am I dealing with something that is good, that the ceiling is very low? We keep talking about the ceiling. How far is your ceiling? We set our ceilings. So your next level is, as far as, it's not dependent on another person, but depends on how high you want your ceiling to be and whether you have the view of that particular ceiling. Some of us will not deal with the ceiling; they are going to deal with what we call the sticky floor. You're stuck in the floor because you're not thinking about moving your leg to the next stair and the next stair and the next stair and the next step in that particular aspect. So that particular lady grew is retired as an executive assistant. She's looking for a job, but that's the only skill that she has. Like I'm telling you, she can be an ED, she can be an executive director, maybe because she knows and she has managed 4 of them at a go. But then she's not ready. She's not ready, and we can only blame her. We cannot blame any other person. We cannot blame her boss. We cannot blame her organization. We can only blame her for that particular aspect. So I want to just share something, talking a bit what Neha was talking about. And Neha, you talked about us not showing up for things that we would even qualify. And allow me to introduce this particular concept, which is the concept of, we call it the Dunning-Kruger effect. And maybe it is true about women or not true, but whether true or not, I want us never to suffer from this particular Kruger effect. And in this Kruger effect, we have people who are very confident. This is the confidence axis, and this is the competence. And as you can see, people who are very low on competence, and very high on confidence, assume they know everything. And therefore, how they show up is very different from someone who is very competent. You see, this is high competence, but then they are very low on confidence. So when the guy who is very low on confidence but has a lot of confidence has already moved and they're saying they know everything, they're able to run with it and figure out as they go. This person is still trying to second guess themselves, and they're not showing up. They're not applying for that job that they should be applying for. They're not volunteering to participate in that particular committee. They're not, you're just not showing up for things because you're doubting yourself. Why we overestimate our skills? The guys with confidence. The guys with competence will underestimate their skill. The question should be why we underestimate our skills, all our capacity to deliver. So every time that you look for a job and you go like, when I look at that particular job, hey, I said I cannot send my application. Instead of saying I can see we have 30% that I need to put effort on. And by the time they call me for that interview, I will have worked on it. You'll hear someone saying something as basic as the job requires advanced Excel. I'm just giving that as an example. The job requires advanced Excel. I don't think I'm that good in Excel. That is a growth, that's a fixed mindset. It is something that you can actually learn between now and that particular time. But instead of saying that I'm going to learn by the time they do their shortlisting and ABCD, or for my next job, you remove yourself from the game. And remember, if you don't participate in a game, you can't win. You can never win a game that you don't participate in. So very important that you work on our confidence. And confidence comes again, this is contradictory. It comes from competence and how you believe in terms of your growth mindset. Are you able to learn and grow? Yes. Are you willing to put the effort? Yes or no? That's up to you. So was it easy? No. Complicated? Yes. So just being able to figure out those things, and you can read about the Dunning-Kruger effect and see why sometimes we have very intelligent people, but they are stuck in very low levels and they are not growing to their next level purely because of that doubt, the imposter syndrome, which is the sister to this Dunning-Kruger effect, where we have very intelligent people, but at any one time they have that self-talk that is very negative. And remember, all the self-talk that you tell yourself registers itself is a truth. If you say you don't know, who are we to doubt you? If you say you don't know, who are we to doubt you? We will not doubt you. We'll assume for sure you do not know because you're the one who can only show up for you. And we say confidence is an inside job. It is something that you tell yourself every morning. So what kind of conversations are you having about your competence, about your growth, and about your career, and the kind of impact that you want to make going forward? What kind of conversations are you having? Are you telling yourself? What kind of company are you keeping? Are you okay keeping at the level that you're in? I see we only have 7 minutes and then it will be 3 p.m. So I guess next week is when we talk about interviews and how to succeed in the same. I'll just say, I'll give it back to Ani. We can open it up for questions.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. I felt like I was getting a personal session, like God said, go and say this. So thank you so much. I found that to be so encouraging. And the fact that you're basically saying, y'all need to be bold. Like, why are you shrinking? All I heard from you was be bold. So very loud and clear. Well, we have the first two ladies on the stage. Did you have any questions? And if anyone else has any questions, we can bring you up to the stage to ask away. So if you could raise your hand, we could bring you here. But in the meantime, to the two ladies on the stage currently, including you, Shannon, feel free to provide any feedback.
Hi, can I talk?
Sure.
So, with the age of social media, tech has been accelerated. And now with social media on board, back in the day, I'm sure at our parents' era, where you do one job and that's what you do. But now with social media, you have to not be Jane of all trades per se, but you need to have multiple skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
Like even though we are having this online conversation, to be able to switch on the mic and articulate the question or the feedback or whatever you want to say, that is a skill set on its own. And it is hard. It is hard to express yourself, especially when you have all these people looking and listening to you. But talking about introverts, I think Annie spoke about introverts on the chat. A couple of days ago, we had an online session with a gaming guru. I'm sure her name is not, I mean, her title is not gaming guru, but I'm going to call her that, from South Africa. And she was so nervous to talk to all of us, and very much introverted, very much stuttering. But everybody was so glued to what she had to say, even though she was speaking so quietly. And it's because of what she had to say and what her experience was. And honestly, we don't need to be perfect to have a conversation anymore. You just need to be able to know what you're saying and say it with experience. Even if your voice is shaking, even if you're stuttering, I mean, that also becomes part of your personality. But put yourself out there. That's what I'm trying to say. Even if you're quiet.
And I like that. I love that so much, and allow me to just say that being quiet does not make you not be able to contribute in meetings. Remember, the US has had six extroverts, rather introverts, as presidents, starting with Obama. They say Obama is an introvert. If you just check online, you'll see that the US has had six presidents and introverts. Because being quiet doesn't mean that, because nobody's going to read your mind. At the very least, give yourself the boldness to just be able to speak. You don't have to be the loudest, neither do you have to be the one that is taking all the airtime. No, but then you prepare to say one thing at least. Don't be there and be the same as, I don't want to say the seats, that will be that meeting and not contribute anything. And then in terms of feeling the fear, like the lady that you have given the example, that is how you start. I keep remembering one time that I had to speak to 800 people, and it was my first time facing the 800 people. And I kept telling myself they have invited me because they didn't have something to share, and therefore I better believe I have something to share. I have prepared for a week, so Jenny, it's okay. You'll definitely have something to share. And I remember walking and wondering, my good Lord, these people look older than me. You understand? So it's okay to feel the fear. But there's a book that I like. I don't know who's the author. And they say, feel the fear, but do it anyway. Feel the fear, but do it anyway. And the more you do, the more it becomes part of you. Anyone who speaks in public will tell you that the first time they spoke, they were shaking. You may not have seen them shaking like a leaf, but they were shaking actually. And you shake until you stop shaking, until it becomes normal to face crowds and you don't feel anything. But it's a skill you need. It's a skill you need, being able to speak. And thank you very much. I didn't get your name, but thank you very much for bringing that to the table.
Oh, it was me, Neha.
Oh, Neha, yeah, that's beautiful. You should be our next speaker, by the way. I should co-host.
Annie.
Listen, I'm waiting for her to volunteer because, when it comes to, um, it- wait, what's your favorite subject? Because you're absolutely right, Jane. What is your subject? And the moment she said that, I feel like we don't take we don't take our opportunities as quickly as we should sometimes. And I'm not saying that it's appropriate just for you to go live pitching, right? But definitely the way you did it, saying, Ani, hello, give me a call. I've got some topics on my mind. So whenever you're ready.
Annie,
Yeah,
you
thank you
just gave me a
forever.
platform to shoot my shots. Thank you, Annie.
And you'll never be ready. You'll never be ready. Just say you're ready. You'll never feel ready. It's you start, you make your messes. Next time you'll be better.
Thank you for that advice, Jane. Let me give you a quick story. Um, I in my professional career, I've always had to speak. I've always had to do presentations. I've always had to be in rooms of like 400 or 500. Every single time I get ready to speak, guess whose stomach just drops to the bottom of the of the floor. So for the first 2 minutes, I am like always like, if I either I speak too fast or I'm
Mhm.
stuttering my way through it or whatever the case is, but so long as I get past those 2 minutes, I survive.
It's okay. And for those of us who are facing public speaking fear, I want to imagine we have Toastmaster clubs in your country. If you're in Kenya, I'm happy to connect you, but you can also find it online. If you just Google Toastmasters Kenya, Toastmaster Nigeria, Toastmaster, whatever you are in, it's a global speaking club and very affordable. And it gives you the audience and the platform to practice how to kick out the stage fright.
Okay. And I think we may have one more question from Martha before we end this particular session. Um, Martha, just feel free to turn your mic on. But in the meantime, I just want to say thank you so much for enlightening us this morning. You created an opportunity for someone who was here. Just because you spoke it into existence, you use your voice to empower someone without fear and without any thoughts. You're like, you should be a speaker. So, if you didn't learn anything today, you learned that this is a place where you're getting opportunities because our speakers are that good that they're able to push you forward and help elevate you. So I don't know. I think Jane deserves a round of applause for just being so amazing and hosting us for this past hour. Martha, I don't know if you have any questions before we.
Oh, hi there, Annie. I didn't have a question. However, I can give a comment. Everything Jane said, it gave me the vibe of what she said. If you can't beat the fear, just do it scared, and to always remember not to lose what you already have. Just gain more. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mother.
Okay, so we are all set. We end our session now, ladies. On the 24th, our next session is on the 24th. It is part two. I am so excited about part one. I think it's great. I know I'll be sharing it everywhere on social media. So, Jane, thank you again for our participants. You guys were amazing, Martha and Neha. So, thank you for joining. I hope you join us again next week. So, in the hub next week, Wednesday, I'm going to be launching a session where it's more of a, welcome, tell us what you're working on, what we can do to support you, and also to be able to give you places and resources that you could actually tap into, especially for those who are creatives and they're creating content. I think that we could do a lot just by sharing that community and that session. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the gems you've dropped. I look forward to the 24th and to get our part two. And everyone have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Annie, and the organizers. Have a beautiful day ahead.
All right. Thank you. So I just want to thank you for coming back to do the masterclass too. I found your session last time super informative. As a person that has had a career that spans many years, we won't talk about my age. So, as a person that has had a career that spans many years, it's refreshing to hear how to look at career from a different perspective. So I thank you for taking the time to come teach us. And I now turn over the time to you.
Thank you very much, Annie. So my name is Coach Jane Mutisya. I coach in career success and also leadership management. They say that most people in leadership are very lonely. Sometimes you want to be vulnerable, but then you do not know how to start and who to share with. So I work a lot with CEOs and line managers, and in terms of just managing the teams and handling the difficult and complicated HR and people issues. I also work with professionals just in managing and making heavy decisions about their career management. So my background is in HR, and I'm also a certified coach. I think that's a good background of who I am. And today, I would like us to talk about personal brand visibility and perception management and how that shapes our careers and how people move, how some people progress, while others who are very technically sound never leave the ground. So when others are reaching for ceilings, this particular person is stuck, and we talk about the sticky floors. I hope you can hear me. So we talk about sticky floors and breaking the ceiling, even for people who are very technically sound. And I will talk about that, the brand, your personal brand, and how to build visibility, and why perception is reality. How do we always know that how people perceive you affects your career growth? So I'm going to start with a theory that we call the PI theory, which is a tool we use for professional brand visibility. And the PI stands for, as you can see on my screen, performance, image, and exposure. And in this pie, we give performance 10%. Your current performance contributes to 10% of your career visibility, your brand visibility, and your career success. If you're only performing well in your current role, then you're gonna stay there because people will keep seeing you as good for that role and not ready for the next role. So you have to always think about how then do I make sure my performance is being seen and I'm going beyond what I currently do, what is currently assigned for me as a way of ensuring that I am ready and people perceive me as ready for the next role. Otherwise, excellent performance in your current role is a minimum requirement, but it can only keep you in your current role. So it is not enough to just do what you do and go home. You have to always ask yourself, how do I ensure people see me as ready for the next level? Then we have what we call image, and we are giving image 30%. We'll talk about it in the next slide. An image is not just about your clothes, it's about how people see you and how they perceive you. If they see you as dependable, that is part of your image. If they see you as trusted, that is part of your image. If they see you as someone who is not reliable, then that is part of your image. And that 30% affects how your career grows to the next level. Then we have exposure. And when we talk about exposure, it's about how many people know you. Not how many people you know, but how many people know you professionally. How many people would actually recommend you in a room that you're not in. And remember, as you go up, when you're getting your first job, it's about your certificates, your academic qualifications, your technical capacity, and the things that you can do. But as you go up, it's a lot of recommendation and people referring you, saying, I have worked with Jane, I have worked with Annie, and I would highly recommend her for this role, even without an interview. I am very sure she will succeed in this. So your exposure, who you expose yourself to. So if you're the kind that is always sitting on your desk and you never interact with any other person, you don't go for networking events. When you go for those networking events, you don't show up. You are there but not there. There's no difference between you and the flower pots and the tables and the seats in that room. Then there's no exposure for you. When you go in that particular meeting, even internally in your staff meeting, and you don't say anything, you do not contribute, you do not compliment someone, you are just there seated. I will keep saying like the flower pots, sitting pretty, looking very good, but people don't know you intellectually. They just see you seated, you do not prepare for that particular meeting. So exposure is everything. And why are we discussing this? We are saying success is not solely based on how well you perform your job. And that's why we are saying it is 10%. And we are saying to equip you with this deeper understanding of how to leverage performance, image, and exposure for your career advancement is perceived by other people. So this is to provide us with practical examples of what you can do to gain both the image and the visibility. Remember, I said performance is a minimum. If you don't perform in your current role, you're fired. But if you just perform well, then you stay in that role and you will never grow. So I'm going to break it down even though I've talked about it. Under performance, we say it represents around 10% of your career success. It's about delivering results and fulfilling your job responsibilities effectively. Key point, while important, performance alone is not enough to ensure career growth. Image, it accounts for about 30% of your career success. It refers to how you are perceived by your colleagues, supervisors, and others. Are you reliable? Are you presentable? Can we send you to go and represent us in an external meeting? Or are we going to say that you cannot speak to people, you cannot speak to that crowd of people, you may not understand ABCD well? So that image, how we perceive you, is very, very, very important. So again, I'm going to repeat, you could be a very excellent IT technical person, but if we perceive you differently, we'll keep you internal. And remember, all internal jobs are low jobs. The more a job becomes superior, the more the job now starts having external relations. You start relating the people in different departments, relating with partners that are outside the organization, because people perceive you as capable, and therefore they can send you out to go and represent. Key points, your image shapes how people view you for potential leadership and promotions. So you have to really look for that image. You have to look for people to experience you, to experience your image intellectually and professionally. So in those meetings, when you're given an assignment, what image do you bring? That you have to always get things on time or the other way around? Always get late with your assignments and stuff to do with that. And then we talk about the feasibility currency or the exposure. And I'm calling it a currency because it is truly a currency. And this is the most critical component, representing around 60% of success. The exposure refers to your feasibility, to decision makers and influential people within your organization and also externally. How many of us see the chairman and we run away and say, like, I've seen the chairman, let me take this corner? How many of us, when you see your boss, then you can't express? You talk to the other people that have no influence in any that happens to you. The key point, being known for your contribution and potential is essential to your career development. So don't be always the person that is passing a paper to your neighbor to be the one communicating things that should be communicating. Don't be the person that has nothing to contribute in a meeting, even in a WhatsApp group or in this community. All you do is what we call the reading corner. You're in a corner, for your work is to keep following what people are saying. You never have anything to contribute. Then we will not know you. Nobody will recommend you for that particular aspect. And on this particular thing, you always have to be known for something. So we'll come to that in a few. So we are saying the key elements of performance: consistently meeting or exceeding expectations. You produce high quality work that aligns with your business goals. You're innovative and you solve problems efficiently. Common pitfalls: focusing solely on performance without building relationships or ensuring feasibility to diverse stakeholders. So if that is you, they're just focusing on, I want to make sure that when they come to my appraisal, I have exceeded. But then you have no relationships. You keep saying you're a technical person, so your work is you and the laptop, you and behind the doors, you and the back office. You may never move beyond a developer. You may never move to be able to manage a team, because people will keep saying, he's a back office girl, So very, very, very important that even if it's a fear you're facing, you start dealing with it. On performance strategies, understand what success is in your role, because you have to at least still bag that 10%. That 10% has to be bagged. So understand what success is in your role in the eyes of the different stakeholders. And when we say that, what do we mean? You map all the customers that your desk serves. Who are the stakeholders who depend on your desk, and how is success to them? It may not, for IT or for tech, it may not just be your line manager. It could be that your role depends on your other parts of the organization depend on your role. Have you mapped them? Do you understand when HR comes to you, what exactly do they need and what does success mean to them? Or are you so soaked in the group thinking of saying that I'm just going to do the minimum? So at a personal level, how do you want your brand to be known? As someone who is always giving solutions and way forward to the stakeholders, or how exactly do you want to be known? So unless you think about what your stakeholders want, what does the CEO want? What does your line manager want? What do your colleagues want? Because again, remember, your colleagues will be your line managers at some point. They'll be senior people elsewhere. They're also going to recommend you, or you're going to recommend them. So you have to map those stakeholders and see who actually gets help from my desk, and how can I give them an A game? How can I give them an A game? So the most important, always map those stakeholders. Track your achievements and align them with the organization and stakeholder goals. So I know some people who you're supposed to be working on something and you have never looked at your KPIs. You have never looked at your KPIs, you just keep working until the day that your boss says we need to do an appraisal, and you start getting scared. You don't know even how you have performed, or you realize you were supposed to have done 1, 2, 3, 4 things, but they are now not done. Why on earth would you be put on a PIP for a job that you know, performance improvement plan, for a job that you know? What would you be given did not meet standards and satisfactory for a job that you would have done, that you would have actually pursued to say, I'm supposed to achieve this particular KPI. Who do I work with if I'm not understanding? What do I do to achieve exceptional? Because then you're managing with the end in mind. So what am I saying? This 10%, it is not excusable. You have to bag it. And you can only bag it by looking from the end of the tunnel and understanding, what am I supposed to achieve? What are my KPIs? What skills do I require? And how do I go beyond this? And how do I create? So communicate your progress and success to your manager and the other stakeholders. So there are also times that you work in silence. You work in silence, nobody knows. Maybe your boss is not a talkative type that will call you and ask you how you're doing and how you're progressing, and even set KPIs for you. So if your boss is not doing that, you have to manage that up for you. You have to be the one that's saying, this month you're working on the following, this month you have been able to achieve the following. And I know that sounds like too much of an effort, but trust me, if you do that, when it comes to appraisals and people commenting about what you have done, people will always say that you are self-driven, you have initiative. They will describe you with very beautiful words. You are proactive. They will describe you, and it also forces your manager to call you for those discussions. Every month, go to your boss and tell him, I want to know how I'm performing. It may not be the catch in your organization, but I want to know how you're progressing. It could be some manager who is not giving you feedback. And then it gets you to a shock when they start telling you that you did not perform. So it is in your best interest to always focus on, what are my KPIs, how am I performing, and are my stakeholders happy? It is not about your happiness, but the people that you're supposed to be serving. Are they feeling your value? Will they describe you as a key person in that particular role? Then regularly seek feedback for continuous improve your performance. Feedback is a gift, and I mean it. Sometimes you're given feedback and we get annoyed, but feedback is a gift and we should always, always, always seek for it. Because then that is the only way that you grow. Remember, we all have blind spots. There are things about us that we do not know. And you could keep stepping on everybody with your blind spots if people do not give you that particular feedback. Or when you're given feedback, you get annoyed and you lose friends because they give you feedback. So be given that feedback, it could be very negative, Take your time, go sleep over it, and then you can come and ask, can you give me an example to understand that feedback completely? But do not reject feedback even before you understand what it means. By the time that person is giving you that particular feedback, they know what they're thinking about and what they're talking about. Take time, analyze, and seek to understand your feedback. And then on image, what is image? Which is your personal brand? How others perceive your behavior, your professionalism, and leadership. And let me just talk about that image. It's inclusive in how we dress. And I know we keep saying that we can dress anything. You can wear jeans and a t-shirt. You can do ABCD. The workplace may not give you that dress code. And I know some people might say that that is old-fashioned. But let me tell you, it is in your best interest to always look the part. You don't have to wear a suit. But it is in your best interest to always look very well groomed. Your nails are done, your hair is neat, you are groomed, you are properly groomed, the kind of shoes you wear, the kind of clothes that you wear. You can be casual, but very casual smart in a way that people respect you even before you open your mouth. And I keep saying, because of how you walk in a room, people will give you a seat, or they will actually just look at you and not even say anything to you. So never ignore how you look in terms of image. So your dress code, your grooming, how you speak, and all of us could be having accents, but there's a way you can actually invest in just being able to speak and speak properly, and even how, all those things. So let us never ignore, because you're being taught to wear jeans and flop suits and things like that, that you think it's okay for you to ignore and assume it's okay. It is very important that you look the part. And they say dress for the job that you want. And I'll keep asking, is your CEO dressing in a way that is that careless? Is the those directors that are up there, how are they dressing? They may not be in your generation, but how are they dressing? You yourself and the people that you see in your professional life and elsewhere, do you judge people by how they look? Is it important to look just elegant, to smell nice, to be able to just invest in how you look, and know that that's a very important part of your career growth and your brand, and even how people experience you. Are you the type that is always walking around with a mood? That is part of your image. If you're always in a mood, you are the hardest to make smile. You are the always that is always fighting in that particular meeting. You are never able to see anything nice. That is part of your brand and your image. We'll be calling you the crossum Jane, the Jane who is negative, the Jane who is proactive, the Jane who is positive. So all those things, it is us to determine how we want to be seen and be able to put that deliberately. You start today and you keep catching yourself, because you have put it on paper that in terms of how people experience me, I want to be a very good customer experience person. And I'm calling you customer experience because we are all serving customers. I hope you can still hear me. So we are all serving customers, and therefore your customers, would they say you are harassing them when they come to see you in your tech decks? Or would they say that you're the best customer service person that they've ever seen? How do you want people to experience you? In a group when you're leading, how do you want to be experienced? Is the follower who never takes any action, or is the leader who's always giving way and being able to even collaborate with other people? Not the person that comes out as a know-it-all, always shutting people down. Because a leader is someone who is able to build others. It's not about you. It's about being able to build others. Even in your small team, being able to say in today's meeting who is going to chair. The person asking who is going to chair, that is already a leader, because they're already stepping back and giving other people opportunities. And I'm not saying you don't chair, but I'm just saying already you have an image of how you want to be seen as a leader. And you've even gone further to discuss the different types of leadership that we have, regardless of your level. It could be an assistant, but have you ever thought in a very practical way, in terms of leadership, in my small level, because all of us have what we first call the self-leadership. How would I want to be seen? As a leader who is very collaborative, as someone who is very directive, you're always giving orders, and when people give you something that's different from what you think, then it becomes a fight. Always think about those things. Are you situational? Are you a problem solver? Or are you the type that gets stuck in the problem? All those are things that people experience you, and you have to sit back and ask yourself, let me just look at my behavior. Look at all the jobs have placed for behavioral skills. They'll be talking about someone who has good organizing skills, someone who I don't know is reliable, maybe someone with good communication skills. Always look at those things and rate yourself, because then they form part of your image. People will be saying she's not a good communicator, or we can send her because she's very eloquent, she can communicate. I like her thought process. The people who like their thought process because they prepare before speaking, they prepare for that meeting, they prepare for that engagement, and their thought process is very, very, very aligned. When you come to building a positive image, be consistent in how you present yourself. Ensure your actions, communication, and appearance reflect the brand you want to build, exhibit leadership qualities even in non-leadership roles. You're able to take action, you're able to even get that particular meeting, moderate that small committee. Just show up. When people are asking who can guide us with prayer, who can lead this committee on ABCD, are you able to volunteer, or we have to always force you to be able to volunteer? And when you volunteer, instead of collaborating and calling people for the meeting, you end up doing the work alone. What exactly are you saying? So common image pitfalls, we have ignoring how you are perceived by others, leading to misinterpretations about your competence and leadership ability. When people keep saying that it doesn't matter how people see you, it doesn't matter how others see you, I will tell you the other way, the opposite. It is very, 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 very important. Perceptions are reality. It is very important that you worry about how other people see you. And because I'm talking about women, let me talk about an example of when we cry in meetings. When you cry in a meeting and you think you're just expressing yourself, but how are the other people going to take that? They will never forget, and they might start referring to you as the weak person, the weak lady who cries in meetings, the weak person. The day you lose your temper, they start saying the hormones, the women who are always shouting in meetings. She's ABCD. She's very forever that they're going to call you. So very important that we understand we have to manage ourselves, practice emotional restraint, and be able to just drive the professional brand that we want to drive in that. So as we conclude, dress and behave well, even in casual settings. Focus on building a reputation for delivering quality work, being reliable, and maintaining a positive attitude. Seek regular feedback on how others view your professionalism. So that is very, 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 very important. I think we have discussed this already, but I'll just read the exposure, which you're saying. Exposure is about who knows you and your work. And I'll repeat that. Who knows you and your work? Is it just your line manager? Or maybe when your line manager doesn't know your work, it is a peer who you give work to so that they present, and can they vote for you? Are they able to say that if you give this to Jane, trust me, you can go to bed, it will be done? It is not about who you know, it is about who knows you. That is the flip. Not who you know, but who knows you. And why is exposure crucial? You can be an excellent performer, but without exposure, your efforts may go unnoticed.
I'm not sure if the slides. Sorry, Jen. I don't know if you're still talking to the first slide, because that's the one that we're seeing.
It has not moved. I'm in slide 50.
No.
Let me stop sharing.
No.
I've shared so many slides. Let me share fresh. I've shared so many slides. That's where I am. Is it showing?
I'm just seeing a black screen.
Let me share. There we are. You can see?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I will share the slides with Anish. She can share with you. I had shared all this.
Thank you.
I had shared all this. So so here we are, and we're talking about exposure and why it is crucial. And we're saying you can be an excellent performer, but without exposure, your efforts may go unnoticed. Sorry. People in key position need to know who you are and what you bring to the table. The only time that people can get to know that is how you behave in meetings. The only time that you get to see your CEO, if you're not the direct report to the CEO or to even other people, is how you contribute in those particular meetings. Do you know the agenda in time? Are you following when other people are presenting? Are you able to ask questions or even just give compliments? All those things that make you people know, that make someone get to notice you. Contributing in a strategic assignment and things to do that. People in key position need to know who you are and what you bring to the table. Don't say you're an introvert. And I keep saying the US has said 6 introverts is presidents. So being an introvert, Obama was an introvert. So being an introvert does not make you be just invisible. Sometimes you're there in the room, you're keeping to yourself. You must be able to be introvert but assertive. Assertive means you're able to say what you want to say. Say what you want to say, you can keep quiet after that. But don't be in a room and compete with the flower vessels. I will keep saying that. So examples of how to increase your exposure, one of them is behavior in meetings, be vocal and contribute valuable insights. And you can never do that if you're not seeing the agenda in good time. Again, in meetings, allow me to say that even where you sit, and you can check that online, the sitting arrangement in a meeting. If you're not the chair, of course, you will not sit on the chair as a seated, but there is that seat on the middle, the seats that are actually on the table. So be early for those meetings, because when you're early, You get a chance to speak for people that are from other departments, from other, people that you would ordinarily, you came late. It means you'll come and find the meeting going on. People have already networked when it was just informal. So it's always, always good for your exposure to go early in meetings. You are prepared, because during when before the meeting starts is when people do the banter. They do those small talk. They're able to ask you, so how long have you been here? So what do you enjoy doing over the weekends? What did you do ABCD? Have you heard about this movie that is new? So always, always go early, but don't be the first person to leave in meetings. So it's not just about what happens during the meeting. The importance of being early is so, I cannot overemphasize. Because when you go early and people are networking again, don't just sit in a corner and don't sit with the guys that you came with. Purpose to just be able to see people, be visible. And I'm not saying you be passive, but be visible. Go around, say hi to people. My name is Jane. I'm from ABCD. How has been just be able to get to do the small talk that we call the small talk. And you can never have small talk if you're also playing at the local level. I like using I don't know that we have Kenyans in the team, but I like using the Kenyan examples. If you're always watching the local episodes of Shirandora and the other things, then in a meeting that has diverse people from the US, from the UK, from wherever else, you'll have nothing to contribute. So it's very important that even as you watch your local context, sometimes you just jump into CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, the natural things that are happening elsewhere in the global perspective, including in your career. Including in your career. You could be loving your job so much, but don't just discuss what happens in your job, because it could just be 5 duties and it could be very specific. There is so much happening in your field of work around the world. If you're not discussing your day-to-day job, are you able to contribute in that discussion? If you're going for a meeting and it's not in the office, are you able to even look at what guys have been working on? So that then you can see the guest speaker is speaking on this. I can see 5 guys that are attending, they'll be speaking on ABCD, such things. Such that when you go for the meeting, then you're actually able to contribute in aspects that are away from the organization or just the local conversations. There are people who have to keep quiet when you start discussing things away from their department. They don't even understand the whole organization, because they just play local. Even in the organization, local means now you're playing at your unit, not even the department, at your unit, and it hurts you. Emails and communication, always write clear, well-structured emails that reflect your competence. What do you want to say? Do people have to call you 5 times for them to understand what you wanted to say? Is your email having the errors? Are people able to understand what was the action? Was it for information? And is the information clear? You can always use AI, ChatGPT and the others to just be able to ensure that your message is very clear and people don't have to call you for things that should have communicated. So emails and communications on many things. Even when your boss gives you an assignment, you're able to come and sit and see if it's a 2 weeks project. You're able to plan and see in 2 weeks, in 1 week, and share it to your boss a program. Following our meeting, that is communication. But people have to keep calling you to ask you about the progress, to keep calling you to ask you about how far are we with this, how far are we with this. It means you're not communicating. You're under communicating. And that again affects your brand. People keep saying, when you give that particular one, you have to keep following up. The deadline is approaching, you have not communicated, sometimes also on emails, how we behave. The exposure. Remember, if it's a very emotional email, it goes further. People even share that email and circulate it. If I see you're fighting with so and so, chances are I might forward that to another person. Look at Jane and Annie, they're actually fighting. I don't know what these women are fighting about. Then that person will also forward to the other person. So always know emails are very delicate. They are so delicate, they have the power to travel the whole world within a second. So the moment you click send, it is gone. You better be sure that you wanted to share that with the whole world. So before you click send, ask yourself, do I have any reservations about this email? Especially when you are fighting on emails. Your emotional intelligence, your emotional destiny is tested a lot on emails. So every time you feel like fighting, please don't, because you don't know who will only hear one side of the story. That you're so emotionally charged that you cannot even contain in an email. So stay away from the laptop, take a walk, let that person know that we can actually have a conversation, a phone call to discuss these particular emails. So your emails represent you and they go further than you ever reach. And they always people always revisit. People always revisit, and that also talks about our digital platforms, the digital footprint and the things that you put on the internet. If it is something that you do not want your next employer or your boss or your parents to see, please don't put it, because it will come back at some point. Another way to increase our exposure is volunteering for strategic assignments, taking on feasible projects that align with company goals. So I like always talking about how we take assignments for welfare. Someone is going planning for a wedding. Someone is going to we are going to see someone's baby. Women always volunteer for that, and I'm not saying it's bad. It's very good that we volunteer for that. But even if we volunteer for that, remember the assignments that will actually have you go present even to the board. Never stay away from those assignments, even when you have no clue. If they're asking for volunteers, say, I'm happy to be part of that committee, because you always learn and you can always research and contribute to that particular project. Of course, understand your capabilities. And of course, building relationships, network internally by connecting decision makers and colleagues across the department. I know we have some people who cannot even go for lunch without the lunch meet. I know there are guys who, when they're going for a meeting, they even book seats for each other because they do not want to sit with another person that they do not know. It is always good to sit with the people that you are going to know and walk away with one new contact. Even in meetings, you can go with your friend, but when you get there, just be able to mix, be able to sit with someone that you have never met and start the small talk. So, where do you work? What do you do? How long have you been in the profession? It can be anything that just makes you have that particular conversation. And it doesn't have to be with everyone, but it's always good to understand how to build and initiate relationship as part of your that feasibility. And allow me to just say this, I need to skip it, but I'll talk about it, which is the reality of out of sight, out of mind. Always remember, you must promote your brand and be your own ambassador. If you shy about talking your achievements, the things that you are doing, trust in me, people forget you. So I'm to skip this just a bit. And I'm going to talk about because you're talking about the brand visibility and the brand is you. And we're saying out of sight, out of mind. The scariest thing about this distance is that you do not know whether they'll miss you or they'll forget you. And it can go either way. So every time you find yourself locking yourself in that room and you never leave, you take your day, you take your lunch from your desk. You want to work from home, you never go even once in the office, you don't go for those other events that people meet. Not just in the organization, but even in the industry, in your tech industry and all that. Every time that you are out of sight, when people call you to speak even for free, and you say no and ABCD. So every time you're out of sight, just know they may forget you. They may not necessarily have to miss you. So it is in your best interest to always be where the people are. Be where the people are. Make it part of your business to even plan. At least once in a month, I will have to attend an external event. At least once in a month, I will have to do ABCD. So be where people are because that is where the money is. That is where the opportunities are. So if you find yourself locking yourself and you always go maybe from work home, you are missing out. You are really missing out. And you don't have to go out every day, and you don't have to keep the same friends every day. Because again, I talked about stakeholders. Who do you want to network with for your next job? And are you desperate? Or are you just happy with your peers and there's nothing else that you're adding? That's a decision to keep, but you need to always think about the next level. So who knows you and your contributions and your potential? You have to answer this. When you come to the appraisal, will you be arguing even with your own manager and arguing about what you contributed? I did this, he says no, you did not do to my expectations. And who knows your potential? Or are we seeing you as someone who is not even beyond your current role, or we even want to put you on a performance improvement plan? We're actually saying in your current role, you are not performing to par. Remember, if you're not performing, you can always get yourself out of it. Get a mentor, get a coach, get someone else that cares for you, and you can actually say, I want to improve on the following. Show me how to go about it. So you don't get stuck in the problem. So answer this, who knows you? And when I say who knows you, I mean professionally. And who knows your contributions? Again, if it's just your line manager, you're in trouble.
The currency that now becomes most important is the relationship currency. The relationship currency. And relationship currency is worth about $2.25. And it never experiences any diminishing marginal return. And relationship currency is the currency that is generated by the investments that you make in the people in your environment. The investments that you make in the people in your environment. None of us work in a silo. You get information from someone, you prosecute it, and you pass it along. We are all working in highly interdependent environments. So at a minimum, you need to have a relationship with every seat that touches your seat. If the only person in your environment that knows that you're doing a great job is your boss, then your ability to ascend is going to be vulnerable because that person may leave the organization or they may lose their seat at the decision-making table. So it is your responsibility to make sure as many people as possible in your organization is aware of your contribution. Here's the real reason that relationship currency is so very important. Your ability to move higher and higher in any environment and in any career will be a function of somebody's judgment. Judgment about whether or not you're ready. Judgment about whether or not you will be successful. Judgment about whether or not the team will follow you. And ladies and gentlemen, judgments are directly influenced by relationships. And I would submit to you that building relationships in your professional environment are no different than building relationships in your personal environment. It is simply frequency of touch. Frequency of touch. If you think about the people that you are close to,
I hope you heard what she said. Relationship currency, and that your decision to ascend is about someone's judgment. When your boss is inviting people from external to come and participate in interviews and even take a position that you don't choose to take, is because of how they perceive you. It is that subjective. So we are going to have an advert that you feel you are qualified to fill, but we are going to insist, no, we are going to hire a stranger that we have no clue how they perform. We can put them on a probation period and of course they fail. And we are going to have you act for another 3 months as we recruit someone else from external. Why? Because of how people perceive you. So that relationship currency and how people perceive you and that subjectivity is very important. And then she's talking about the frequency of touch. The frequency of touch. How often do you talk to the people that you're supposed to be building relationships with? Starting with your line manager and other people in the organization, and of course external to the organization. Frequency of touch. Are there people that maybe can make a difference in our professional lives, but the only time that we write to them, including your former manager who is your reference check, that you only write to them when there's need? 4 years down the line, you go like, hi, then the conversation just stalls because we don't know how to do. So frequency of touch, you have to map the people that touch your desk and see how you support them. You have to map the people that actually might affect your career. A reference check, your line manager, people that I don't know who will do ABCD, map them and see then how often do you actually just call them for nothing to say hi. So that the day you need a favor, it doesn't sound like something that is way out of touch.
In your personal life, think about how you got close to them. Let's think about college. Maybe you were in the registration line together, or you were both econ majors and you said, save me a seat, I'll be late to class. Or let's walk over to the party together. Or, hey, you're going to the football game and the party after, let's go together. Frequency of touch. So it's the same strategy when you are in your professional environment. And let me leave you with this last thought about relationship currency. Everybody in this room has power. Everybody in this room has power. Hard-earned, personal, influential currency. But I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, how many people in this room will use that hard-earned, personal, influential currency on somebody that they do not know? That's normally the answer.
And I hope you're hearing what she's saying. That everybody that is in your space has power. The one that you're calling the relationship currency power. They can recommend you or they can say otherwise, don't touch her. She's high risk. She's ABCD. And we're not saying that we become friends with everyone. We're talking about being deliberate about how we manage our brand in places that people could be judging us, how you show up. So how many people that know you are willing to actually recommend you without any hesitation? That I recommend a need for this role and have no doubt. Because they have seen you function. They have seen you show up. They have seen you say that this is going to be done and it was done. So very important that you understand that currency is very important than if other people can recommend you or cannot recommend you.
Exactly right. So remember to yourself that your inability to move up is never going to be a function of whether or not somebody likes you, but it will be a function of whether or not somebody knows you. All of those critical decisions are made behind closed doors, and they're usually discussing several candidates at a time. When your name comes up behind closed doors, if no one can speak up on your behalf, no one says anything, Jane Smith, and nobody says anything, then you are passed over for that opportunity. And when someone says Nancy Brown, and someone says she's great, she's fabulous, I saw her on this project, could be one project, but somebody spoke because they think they know Nancy. So it is imperative that you invest in the relationships in your environment if you want to ascend to higher and higher levels. That relationship currency is the most valuable currency that you can have in any environment.
I want to stop there a bit and just ask you, we followed and what we picked from that.
Relationship currency is something that it's funny, you know these things, but you don't really know these things until times like these, right? We all experience it to a certain extent, but as jobs become more scarce, these are the things that's going to help push you along is essentially the relationships you build. And most people dismiss it thinking that it really won't impact them, or maybe because of nerves or maybe fear. I don't know. But whatever it is, I think now more than ever, if you're not understanding relationship currency, um, that you could be impacted.
I like that. I like that. And when we talk about relationship currency, and if you have done emotional intelligence and the different components of emotional intelligence, one of them is relationship management. And it talks about how, as a professional, you're able to manage conflict in a way that you don't go cutting bridges, building walls. Anybody that you have a conflict with, you cut them off. Anybody that you have a conflict with, you cut them off. So by the end of it, you only have a bunch of so many guys that you don't talk to, and you do not even remember why you do not talk to them. So we talk about anybody who cares about relationship has to also know about how to manage conflict in a way that you're able to build bridges and not walls, in a way that in any situation you're able to take your time off and then come speak in a way that is win-win, knowing that competency or rather conflict is part of our life. So when we talk about relationship management, it's always very, very, very important. Very important to not always be very fast in writing people off because you don't know when you even need them. Or and sometimes for some that is very, very, very basic. I just want to hear from one more person. What did you take away from it?
So I someone had raised their hand, sorry.
Continue, Lisa.
All right. So I think it's good to position, but so I tend to have questions about it because you could position and maybe be used in the workspace as they're like, she's the go-to person. So you'll always get the jobs, even if you're positioning yourself for leadership. I think for me, it has happened before you position yourself so that you can move to the next phase and the next phase and even have a conversation with your line manager and all that. But you get skipped off on opportunities, even if the track record shows it, and even if people know you for that particular aspect of the job that you're working or looking at. So I think it's somebody who speaks or in the room for you, because there was a time I did have like a career trajectory, and I think it was because a specific person spoke in the room, and when that person did leave, I don't know what really happened. And yeah, even if you tend to go ahead, I don't know how this branding thing works. I've rebranded myself. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know how it's working out. So I tend to have like, yeah, it works to a certain extent, but I think I don't know if you need to overdo it. I don't know.
I like your question. I like your perspective because then it's the reality. It's the reality. Sometimes you think that you have really done a good job, but then you have one person or two people who see you completely opposite of how you see yourself. So it's a very valid question. And sometimes we also have people who believe in us and because they have seen us. So I will always say that the best is for you to be able to make sure that your brand is being seen. They may not give you the position now, but sometimes someone else will actually see it. It is better than to be at the back office. It is better than not to have a brand at all, than to have nobody knowing you. Because again, sometimes like in Kenya they say mganga heshimiwi kwao, which means I will say it in English and it will sound very funny. They say that a witch doctor is not respected in his village. There are times that people will leave a doctor in their village and go very far to India, like in Kenya, to India because they want to think that foreign aspect has something new. So sometimes even when you're doing all those things, it might actually pay you in a different organization, and you have to always know when to quit. You have to always know that now here I have reached my end. Nobody is still really beyond here. I have to look for a job elsewhere. And I like telling people that we are global professionals. You did not go school for your current employer. If it is not working, if you had given yourself 3 years to be able to move to the next level, and it is not moving, trust you me, apply elsewhere. People will call you for interviews, and they'll give you an opportunity. So it could be someone has already a perception about you. It could be something that you did once, or maybe they didn't see you in a different way that they wanted to see you, and that creates a perception. And it doesn't matter how you try; they have a perception about you that you may be knowing or not knowing. The same thing that we do to other people. There are some people that I see, and you have a perception. Even now, what we are doing for this particular webinar, there's someone who thinks that this is a very good thing that is happening. There's another person that thinks very bad about it. So it's always you to do your thing and let the rest of the things sort themselves. And branding goes including to even online. Like on LinkedIn, when you go to LinkedIn and you are networking, how then do you build relationships? Are you the type that is always maybe fighting other people's comments, or are you the type that is able to, when you see something good, or if for your own thought leadership, you're able to give thought leadership and it pays. It pays. I'll tell you, for me, there are very many things that have been called for just because of my thought leadership in terms of building my brand, even online. So people see and they can actually, I would like to know this particular person. I would like to know this particular person. So what I would say to you is build your brand. Build your brand. The person that are with you may not see it, but someone else somewhere will actually be able to pick that and recommend you for that role. Or maybe they have their own reasons. I would also challenge you. Did you ever get the feedback from that particular person as to why they did not want to give you that particular opportunity? So thank you for sharing. And I was just trying to say about this that our mindset is everything. Our mindset comes before the skills. You can be very skilled, but if your mindset tells you you're not ready for the next level, or you're not good to even be a thought leader, be able to do that article in LinkedIn, or be able to speak up in a meeting. If your mind tells you you're not enough, trust me, you will not be able to show up. So a lot of work has to go into your mindset and prepare yourself to understand that even the guys that are speaking up, the guys that are showing up for those assignments, are just people like you, and you can actually show up because you have already made it to wherever that you are. And I would like us just to discuss a bit. I don't know how you're going to do it, because I know you can't discuss in a group, but you can do this on your own. Ask yourself about visibility moves that you'd like to do in the next maybe 1 month. In terms of leadership in your career, how would you like to be seen? Are you actually a thought leader? In your level, you could be an assistant, but how would you ensure that you are very good in terms of mastery, in terms of what you do? And people can actually come to you for solutions, for questions, because you have actually mastered and they know that in that particular space, you're the thought leader. What strategic networks must you join for you to keep building your visibility? What networks must you join? What commitments must you make in the next 1 month, the next 1 week? That for this particular network, this month I'll go here, next month I'll do ABCD, just to be out there and be known. And I always talk about Coke. We all know about Coke, Coca-Cola, but they never stop advertising and putting it in our eyes. So take a moment, think about that. And I'd like us now to challenge yourself to craft a personal visibility plan on things that you'd want to do for you to be visible, for guys to start referring you that if you want this particular aspect, go to Sandra. What is this one particular project that you can lead? Who are the stakeholders that you have to work with, or maybe even strengthen your relationship with? And you're not talking about bootlicking. It's not bootlicking, but it's about, and when we talk about networking and this relationship building, there's something that we call the value-based networking, value-based relationship making, where you actually understand that I can do this, and therefore this is what I should sell to this particular line manager. I should sell to this particular stakeholder. So you first of all think about what can I offer, not what can I get. What can I offer versus what can I get? When you offer something, people relate with you more because then they can actually see you doing something, and they will go out of their way to pay back that particular debt. And then also I would wish you that you commit to an immediate action on what you'd want to do within the next 3 months in terms of visibility. It could be speaking up in meetings. It could be writing up on LinkedIn on those leadership articles in your field. It could be going for those networking events. It could be able to pursue your boss for an appraisal, or being able to list down all your the things that you need to get right. So I'm giving you a minute. An immediate action that you can actually do in terms of your feasibility, branding, and relationship building. Performance, image, and exposure. In terms of exposure, what can you do in the next 2 months, 1 week? In terms of image, what are the things that you think you'd change? Who do you admire and who would you like to look like? Do you have a model? People that you just admire because of how the image that they have. People see you as someone who has potential for extra, and what do you need for that next level? Because sometimes we are too focused on our current level that if we are promoted to the next level, we flop. We are promoted to our next level, to our level of incompetence. You go to the next level, you're an assistant, you become an officer, you used to be a line manager, you become the CEO and become the hardest job you've ever taken. Because it is the first time that you're experiencing this. You do not have a mentor, you do not have a coach, you do not have a plan for looking at jobs that you would apply for next year or next year but one, and looking at the things that they're asking for. So I always say on this particular one, in terms of your career growth, always be very factual and very data driven. Look at 2-3 jobs that you want to hold next year when you have 5 years experience, when you have 3 years experience. Look at what kind of competencies are they asking for and how do you get that particular competency. Because you can learn on the job, but it's much difficult if you have to learn on the job. And you do not have to get all your experience from your current role. There are some things that you have to do. And if there are any boxes that you must tick, education, certifications, tick all those boxes. Plan on how to tick those boxes. Sometimes we have ideas in our head. I have seen guys that don't go for their master's program because they assume it's expensive, they don't do certifications, and it is those things that make you stand out. So for that career plan, please just write down, be very factual, write and do your own gap analysis and see how to close that particular gap. On feasibility, on exposure, on performance. Remember, performance is a very skills-based thing. And we are talking about the next level, not your current level that you already have, the next level, your growth. So I'll talk about this and then we finish, which is competency, confidence, and mastery are key drivers of feasibility and branding. Competency, confidence, and mastery. Competence, confidence, and mastery. I'll start with the competence. So this is your foundational ability to do your job well. Competency boosts your confidence. Are you competent enough? You may not have all the competencies. Maybe there are some 5 things that you need to know in terms of competence. Have you rated yourself? Have you actually taken time to just look at competency 1? How do I score? Is it a 5 out of 5 or is it a 1 out of 5? And how do I close this gap? Competency 2, where am I? Competency 3, what is my gap and how do I close this gap? So very important for your current job and the next job, but for your current job first, you have to tick that as 10 out of 10. So look at those competencies because then that's how people see, because you're talking about professional feasibility. If people know that you cannot deliver A, they will never give you B to deliver. And then we have mastery. Going beyond competence means achieving a mastery, becoming the go-to expert in your area. Investing in that particular ABCD, being able to go for things that are online for you to just know beyond the basics. And then we have competency and branding. Expertise builds trust. When others see you as an expert, they are more likely to trust you with important tasks, making you more feasible to leadership. And I'll talk about trust. Trust, remember again at work, we have 2 forms of trust. The first trust is called the primary trust. And in primary trust is you're both knowing that, or whichever the stakeholder that you're working with, being able to know that I can trust Jane with this. Meaning, if I give Jane this, it will be delivered. The trust of knowing that you can deliver what you said you deliver. Then the secondary trust is you knowing that you're on my side. Because sometimes you lack trust in the sense that you don't know which side I am. You don't know that I'm sabotaging you or I'm supporting you, I'm with you or not with you. So both forms of trust are very important. But the secondary form of trust, the one of knowing are you in my team or not, are you supporting me or not, when people go fighting their bosses, fighting their colleagues and things like that, that means we lose the secondary trust. And when that is lost, it's called an emotional level of trust. When that is lost, things go south. So it's very important that your boss trusts you and you must know how to earn both the primary trust or be known that when you're given an assignment, you deliver it on time and on quality. And that your boss can trust that you're actually on their side. Whether they're in a meeting or not in a meeting, you're able to represent the true picture of it and you can even cover where there are their weaknesses. You're not the type that is always shaming your boss when he's not in the room. Either in meetings, either in emails or whatever that it is. So trust is a very important element that you must have if you are to also go to the next level. Otherwise, people start calling you a snake or other animals that you do not want to be called. And then consistency. Be consistent in what you do. your performance, how you show up, all those things. Very important. So continuous learning. There's what we call a stretch assignments. How to get this? Stretch assignments is where you volunteer to take things that are beyond you. You want to start growing, you want to see what your manager does, and you're asking for that particular stretch assignment. I know there are many of us who sometimes, when the boss delegates, you feel like you're doing his work. But if you're not delegated to, how will you ever learn that at the next level? If you're a manager, are you also giving the people that are in your team that stretch assignment? Because again, as a manager, you play a very important role in the growth of the team members that are in your team. And remember, a leader is always growing other people. It's not about you just being the most knowledgeable person in the room. It's about how many people have benefited from your knowledge. Because you're giving them delegated assignments, such assignments, and you're actually very keen in terms of making sure that people learn when they're working below you. If it is you on your own, then asking and going out of your way to be given things that are beyond you. Telling your manager that, guess what, I feel like I've reached my ceiling. I feel I need something more, I need something extra. And that asking, and I think the last person that spoke also talked about it, being able to tell your boss, I feel like I'm due for my next level. I feel like I can take more assignment. I feel like I'm weak in this and I would like exposure. I would like to be given training on this is very important. And of course, teaching and mentoring, sharing your expertise with others helps you solidify your own mastery. So there are people that are in your community you can actually mentor. There are people who are in tech that are younger than you, that are looking for someone to be able to share with them. And when you teach what happens, when you mentor what happens, you're forced to research because you cannot teach your mentor from an empty space. You're actually forced to research and be able to give what is it? To give information about things that you want to teach and learn. So very, very, very important. When you teach, it's not that you're doing people a favor. You're actually forced to research, and that is very, very, very important. So at your own time, list your competencies, the hard skills, the technical skills like project management, data analysis, or financial planning that are required in your role. I don't know what to do, but list your own hard skills and assess yourself. Am I a 2 out of 5? Am I 5 out of 5? And what do I do to close this particular gap? On the soft skills, again, remember, they accuse you tech people. I don't know that it's true or not true. But on the soft skills, remember, they run the show. You can be very good technically, but if you don't have the soft skills, things will always go south for you. If you don't have the soft skills, things will always go south. So let yourself get to know where are you. Are you a mastery level? Are you advanced? Are you proficient? Or are you a beginner in a skill that is required in your job? And don't just focus on the hard skills. Focus on the soft skills also. We'll not go through this. I want to imagine our time is up also. So let me conclude with this. On performance, consistently deliver high quality work. Purpose to always do that. If it is a report that you're giving, review that report before submitting. Don't let your boss or whichever person you're giving the report pick careless mistakes that you would have picked for yourself, sometimes not just grammar, even other wrong things. So always review your reports before you share. Because then you're able to pick mistakes, and that is part of your brand. Number 2, exposure and visibility. Ensure that your contributions are visible to key decision makers and almost all your stakeholders. And then image, build a strong personal brand based on professionalism and reliability. And final note, mastering the balance between performance, image, and exposure, and performing deep authentic connections is a key to sustained career growth. I think it ends there. I'm happy to see any questions or comments.
Wow, wow, wow. This is once again another wonderful presentation that you've put on for us. I think it's super fantastic how you make it so real-like, because sometimes when people are telling you about career stuff, it's usually more, I think it's more technical in the sense of, how can I put this? Like they give you things that are not relatable to what you're actually experiencing at the moment. Whereas you're like, hey, wait a minute. Did you guys think about this relationship currency before you walked out the door? Did you think about how you're going to present yourself and what you're going to look like? Almost like I'm having a conversation with that person in my head that's like, oh, you really thought you were going to be cute today, walking out looking like that. Not professional, So thank you for that gentle reminder of knowing that presentation, making sure that you are networking, making sure that, your information is updated, making sure that you are visually present. I'm going to give you a short story before I turn it over to the audience, because we really would like to hear your questions if you have any, or maybe even comments. I'm I am a very outgoing person in a sense that I've always had to do presentations. But I am super nervous when I do have to do presentation. And if I haven't done any presentations in over 2 months, I'm nervous. It's like I don't even want to do it because I don't want to put myself out there. But, as in launching AWIThub, I said, okay, Missy, you keep avoiding the camera. You have to get in front now. You have to, start speaking more. So I force myself to do this more often than not because I'm really a background person. But you can't be a background person if you're trying to make movements. So I just thank you for that gentle reminder and, for you coming here to tell us, hey, it's really us, 9 times out of 10. Yes, you can do what others recommend, but to put yourself out there truly means going into spaces that you never would have gone into. I would have never launched this and thought that I was going to do this all the time. I wouldn't have done it because in my mind, I'm a background person. Remember, we sabotage ourselves because we limit what we're willing to do. So Jane, I just want to thank you for reminding us that it's really us too. And, Lisa, you mentioned some points. Look, I've rebranded 1,000 times. Girl, if you know my age and how many times I've rebranded, but when someone makes sense in terms of how you rebrand, she's like, what are you doing? What are your goals? What are your aspirations? And, is it a week you're going to get there? Is it 2 weeks you're going to get there? 3 weeks? Whatever it is, it's systematic. Things that are set in goals always work because there's a goal attached to it. May not work when you want it to, but it definitely works. So that's my summary of everything that has transpired. You touch point on things that are personal to me. And for that, I really appreciate you coming here for these 2 sessions on 2 different days and dropping these gems. And we're going to bring you back again. So, thank you so much for doing this now. Yeah. So I'm going to turn over time to anybody else that wants to make a comment or maybe share an experience before we close out. Go ahead, Lisa. You guys could just turn your mic on.
I just want to ask, how many times one goes through career coaching, and then also like if you have your contact details on career coaching in those lines, because I think I'm just there.
Okay, so for career coaching, it's a beautiful thing. So I always say we should manage our careers like projects. So it's good to see yourself 10 years down the line. Where do you want to be 10 years from now? Or do you want to be a result of accidents? People promote you, you're lucky. If they don't promote you, so be it. You end up serving maybe 10 years in an assistant role or whichever role that you are in, you get stuck. So it's very important that you have your mind, you have planned a time plan. Of course, that can change, but you have a time plan that says after every 3 years, after every 2 years, I want to do ABCD. During that time, you can have a coach. So you can have a coach anytime that you feel you need to make a big decision. You want to go for an internal role? Is it a good decision? Is it a bad decision? You want to prepare for your next 2 years? Then how do you map that? Apart from education, and even education, I've seen people making very funny mistakes. And even as you get a coach, it's important that you also verify for yourself. Go online, see what is available and what the market is saying, because you could do things that are already expired. So to answer your question, you can actually have a coach at any time that you feel like, because it's a beautiful thing to have. Even just someone as your friend that you can call anytime and ask those questions. Today I'm dealing with this. How do I go about it? Because again, there are also things that we do that affect our careers in the long term. So yeah, I hope I've answered you. My contacts, you can look for me as Jane Mutisya online on LinkedIn. You'll find me. You can also ask Annie or Ruth Kilonzo for my email.
And since we have your information, I don't know what if you offer any personal services, can you please email us that so that when we go to create information for people to be able to touch back on, then we could offer the services that you offer.
Sure, I'll do that.
Okay, perfect. All right. Any other questions before we close out? Okay. So I just want to thank you once again. I thought that these sessions are wonderful. We'd like you to come back in another few months. And then this way do some more touch points. And we look forward to the information that you're going to share so that we can share it with everyone else. We thank you for joining us today. We thank you for all the gems you've dropped. And we look forward to hearing you speak in our fourth quarter. I would say fourth quarter is, what is it? October, November, December. So one of those one of those times, if you could pick a slot, we'd love to bring you back. So anyway, yes, I look forward to it. So please pick a date and time so that we could definitely bring you back for the information that you share. And we will send out to everyone else additional the video and contact information and services offered. Otherwise, I think I'm rambling. But thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day. I look forward to the next time we can meet up again.
Okay. Bye-bye, Annie, and bye-bye, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye.